By the power of Grayskull,
Hello and welcome to the channel. And in today's video we are going to be checking out this custom of the Mattel Masterverse Revolution Battle Armor He-Man. Now in my previous video where I did the review for the figure, I explained what I wanted to accomplish when I was trying to do this custom. I had explained that since the battle armor on this figure is closer to a representation of the battle armor of the original vintage toy, which I have right here. Let's see if we can get him to stand up. There we go. So, looks wise, the battle armor is much closer to the vintage toy than the previously released New Eternia battle armor He-Man that we got, I want to say 2 years ago, which was one of the very first figures released in the New Eternia line, which is this guy right here. So this figure was still using the smaller, more leaner upper body than the new current new Eternia. Well, I don't know if it's gonna be the new base body going forward for all the lines or just New Eternia. I don't know, but so far I believe we've only seen it for the New Eternia figures. So the previous battle armor He-Man, this is what he looked like, and you can see it's trying to be close to the original vintage toy version, but also trying to be its own thing. Whereas the new Revolution battle armor He-Man is pretty much trying to stay close to the original vintage toy. So in my attempt to try and get to make the new battle armor He-Man closer to the vintage toy, what I went on and did to the figure, with some liberties. So obviously the first thing that I did on this guy is to change the loincloth and the boots, as well as the wrist bracers, excuse me. And I chose to use the ones that come on the 40th anniversary He-Man. Right here. Since the 40th anniversary He-Man is supposed to be like the new modern take of the original vintage toy, right here. So it made sense for me to try and use those parts to make this my new battle armor He-Man, since they're pretty much this. It's the next step evolution, right? What I really wanted to do at first, when the battle armor He-Man released, was just to see if the armor would fit on the 40th anniversary, but it did not. The upper body on this guy is just too big, so the battle armor would not fit. Maybe with some heating and stretching of parts, but I didn't want to go to that extent. Besides, the new buck that they're using is reshaped as well to be bigger, as I did. If you saw the previous video, you saw the comparisons, and I think it's in some ways an improvement over even this upper body. So what I did is I had 2 of these 40th anniversary. I still have also the San Diego Comic-Con version intact, so I still have that. I have this version with a slight modification in that now he has 2 of the smaller wrist bracers. And that's because on the other figure, that I used to steal the parts to make the one in the back. Obviously, I gave him, because this guy is rocking both of the long bracers, because it kind of made sense to me that Battle Armor He-Man would want, as much protection, within reason. Obviously, the original New Eternia Battle Armor He-Man, he also had, he had like shoulder pads and hip protection, which I have used to make my King He-Man, right? So these parts and these parts came on the original New Eternia Battle Armor He-Man. But to get this look, closer to the vintage toy, obviously, the only modification that I did was just, the only change from this look was to just give him the two long bracers on his forearms, and that's fine. The other thing that I needed to do to accomplish the vintage toy look was obviously try and get a head sculpt that would try and match the vibe of the original figure. So one of the things that I did previously was use one of the Origins heads when I did my custom on the very first He-Man that was released on the Revelation line, this guy. So I took one of the heads from the Origins He-Man that had the vintage style head, repainted it, and did this custom homage to the Filmation He-Man. But it was also like a cross between, classics, modern, and all of that. So, but it was mostly trying to be inspired by the Filmation He-Man. So I did the same approach on this battle armor than on this guy, which is just repaint the head sculpt to have a more, a more realistic look. So if we getting closer on this guy, you will see, let's see. The neck peg on this figure is a little loose, so if he bows his head out by itself, I'm going to try and give him on this angle right here. If he bows, because it just looks cooler. Let me see the paint. The paint. The paint. Yeah, the paint is being washed out by the light. So let me dim that down a little bit. There we go. Now you can see the details a little bit better. So I had to prime the entire head in gray, and then trying to match a skin tone that matched the body. I'm still not quite there, but I'm still also not finished with this head sculpt yet. I still have to add like the shading on the recesses, on the cheeks, the eyes, the mouth above the nose, and all of that. So I'm still not, I'm not finished with this yet. But I just wanted to record this video now because it's been a few weeks since I posted anything, and I don't want the algorithm to forget me. And then for the head sculpt, for the hair, I'm sorry. I just did a base color of a deep yellow, like a mustard color, and then just applied the dry brush with a lighter yellow on top. The camera would focus. There you go. Damn. And so just to reiterate, the loincloth and the boots were swapped. I didn't borrow the parts from the meaning I didn't borrow, like take apart the 40th anniversary He-Man and then put those parts. No, I had to. I boiled and I did the boil and pop thing. Put the boots, the feet, the legs on the in hot water. Let them boil to get the plastic soft enough to be able to pop off the boots and the loincloth. The loincloth has always been one of the hardest parts when trying to do the kit bashing thing and swapping between figures. The loincloth on these figures has always been a hassle to remove, particularly because of how the ring that holds the belt and the loincloth in place is just big enough to compensate for the twisting mechanism that that allows you to give the figure its twist. So it's not a large ring that is the size of the width of the figure. It's a little tighter inside. So when you're trying to stretch that piece out, you may tend to rip it, which I did. I forget on which one previously, but I've done it a few times, and for the most part, there's always some minor ripping of the plastic, because for one thing, the plastic on this thing cools down faster than most plastics, so you need to work fast, and if you don't, you have to dunk the either the belt or the loincloth back again in or the figure, I would say, because you're still trying to remove it. You have to dunk the whole thing back into the water to get it soft enough to try again. So removing the loincloth on these figures is, you gotta be fast, you gotta be efficient, and gotta have strong fingers to withstand the even though after you remove the figure from the hot boiling water, the plastic is really hot, so you have to fight that as well when trying to work. So the fingertips on your hands, they feel it after a while. So if you don't succeed after the first few times, I would recommend just walk away for 10 minutes and come back. I was relentless, so I didn't stop. I would, back to back to back to back. It took me about 30 minutes to do the whole conversion from one figure onto the other. So it took a while, but it was all worth it in the end to get this look. So the head sculpt, as I had mentioned in the previous video, but again I'll mention today, the head sculpt comes from the alternate head that comes on Flying Fists He-Man from the vintage line. I had said that when I had that, I had bought the Flying Fist He-Man first before the release of this figure, or it was announced. And once I saw this figure announced, I knew that's the head sculpt I wanted for this custom. Although I did have an alternate plan to use a different head sculpt, there was a time when over the course of the past few weeks that I was working on this, I wasn't completely satisfied with how the face was turning out. So I was getting frustrated. So I was looking for an alternative to using a different head sculpt on this figure. And I had come to the conclusion that I was going to use this head sculpt right here, which is the head sculpt that comes with the movie He-Man that was released early last year. And of course, everybody complained about that head sculpt, that it didn't look like Dolph Lundgren. Well, a lot of fans had hopes for this head sculpt once they saw the promo images, that it looked reminiscent of the vintage toy, but it wasn't perfect either. This head sculpt, I've done the other method of fixing head sculpts was the boil and squeeze method. So, which was used on this guy, right? The head sculpt, this guy had a long Jay Leno type chin, so we use the boil and squeeze method, where we get the head sculpt in the boiling water to the point where it's soft enough that you can squeeze it and let it you dunk it in a cold water or ice water, so that it shocks the plastic in place, and you get a little more better looking head sculpt, which is what I did on this guy. This guy was a little too elongated itself, but once I did the procedure, now the head sculpt looks a little better now. So this was my alternative for this body, and it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad, but it like I mentioned, the peg on this guy is a little too loose. I still need to fix it. It doesn't look bad, but because of the bigger upper body, I feel that the other head sculpt that I already had looked better. This was just my alternate, my second choice in case I couldn't quite nail this repaint. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this head sculpt for the first Battle Armor He-Man, the new Eternia He-Man. And now I think he looks much better because he has the leaner upper body, right? So it looks more, it just looks better to the eye, right? In my opinion, right? And so there's that. And then in order to put this head sculpt on this figure, I did have to do some modifying. I did have to Dremel out and make adjustments for these O-rings to make a new, a ball joint. I'm sorry, an area, a surface for the ball joint to connect to, because on the standard head sculpt, it would sink in a little too low for my taste, and it would make it look like He-Man didn't have a neck. So, and also the hair on the bottom end would scrape here at the bottom as I tried to squeeze it on, and it would rub off the paint. So what I have to do every time I remove the head sculpt on this figure, I have to remove the battle armor to put it on. That way I don't rub the hair at the bottom when I'm squeezing in the head. And now I can just put the battle armor back on without risk of scraping off any paint. So there you go. And if you're curious what the 40th anniversary He-Man looks like with the different colored loincloth, here he is. So these are the parts that I took from the Revolution Battle Armor He-Man. So he has the loincloth, the boots, and the wrist bracers in the brown and gold. And for a contrast, again, if you want to, wonder what that looks like, if you like one over the other, okay, you can try and do the swap. So let me just put this guy back here in the shot. There we go. So yeah, that's it pretty much. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, so I just need to finish putting the finishing touches on the face, adding some shading. Like I said, just to complete the look. And then that would be, and then I guess I'll probably add the shading to just to add the muscle definition on the body and all of that. But for the most part, this custom is done. And next would be Thunder Punch He-Man once he releases. That looks, also looks to be a good looking figure. That one uses the head sculpt from the New Eternia Faker that a lot of fans liked. Although the first promo images that I've seen of the New Eternia Thunder Punch He-Man, the face, the painting isn't that good, so it's almost like doing a disservice to the head sculpt. I don't know. Consequently, I've seen a couple of reviews of the Thunder Punch He-Man already. Some people have already gotten it. I believe they're getting it from overseas, from Asia. And from the reviews I've seen, the head sculpt looks, when if when painted correctly, it looks good. But obviously, having it in hand will be the true test to see what it really looks like, right? So there you go. And there we have this video. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And I will be seeing you in the next one.